Black women, here are some things that are actively stealing your joy, your peace, and your well-being. Today, we are talking about them, and I have some guests. Hey, everyone. It is Rosché of Glamazini.com bringing you light and laughter. Per usual, if you are new here or if you are true here, I am a Black woman healing, and I create humor-filled healing spaces so that other Black women can heal too. If you are watching on Facebook, in my Facebook community, on LinkedIn, YouTube, or on Twitter X, whatever they call it nowadays, drop a pineapple in the chat. Let me know that you are here. And today we are talking about things that are stealing Black women's peace and their joy and their mental health and their well-being. I have with me two beautiful ladies, one of whom switched up her hair, and we had a whole thing off camera because I didn't even recognize her. Okay. Licensed psychologist, coach, and author, Dr. Kimani Norrington-Sands. Hi, Kimani. You guys have seen her on my channel before, and I've been on her channel. And meeting for the first time ever, financial psychologist, aka the Doctor of Rethinking, Dr. Rosché Brown. Welcome, you guys. Glad to have you both here. Glad to have you both. Yeah, Kimani switched it up on me.
When I came in, Rosché was like what? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, Kimani did a new thing.
Can I just talk to them really briefly about the hair? It's a backstory to the hair. And
go ahead, because that brings me joy
right now, right? Because we talk about toxic jobs. When I was at the toxic job, my hair was breaking off. It was broken off. It was really bad. My hairdresser was the first person who told me, girl, there's something wrong. Like, your hair is breaking off. What is going on with you, right? And then when she said that, I was able to say, wait a minute, what is going on? And I started thinking about the toxic job. So I'm taking Black women on my journey, my healing journey, not only my physical health, the fluffy challenge, my mental health, but also getting my hair back. So this is once a year. I get my hair straightened once a year.
Once a year.
Once a year.
Listen, she came on camera and I was like, okay, that's what we doing. You better let the people know. Anyway, this month, let me get back. I'm serious. Dr. Rosché doesn't know me, you guys. Let's all be serious.
Why?
She's a jokester too.
Yes.
This month's theme is setting intentions, reflection, and embracing winter rest. Why? Because this is the perfect time, in my opinion, based off of looking out the window and seeing what nature is doing, to sit down somewhere, pause, process, really gather information about what happened in the past year, and then use that information to move yourself forward. Amen. So a few weeks ago, I jumped on and I gave you guys permission to rest. And then last week, we spoke with physician Dr. Judy Wright about putting ourselves first. So I feel like today is the perfect time, and I have the perfect duo to talk to you guys about reflecting, like giving serious consideration to the things that are stealing Black women's joy and their peace and their well-being and their rest. So Dr. Kimani, you told me that first of all, you just shared about your hair. And you know what? I love that your hairdresser was the first person to notice.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many layers to that.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us? You told me that this month you are focused all on pausing, resting, and being. Can you talk to me about that?
Well, as Black women, I just think about Exodus Summit with Octavia Rahim, and she talked about, as Black women, that we're so busy all the time. We're like, I ain't got time to rest. I got too many things going on, right? But when we think about pausing, resting, and really centering ourselves, it's essential, because if we don't, we keep at this breakneck speed all the time. We stay in toxic work environments. We stay in toxic relationships. We don't have boundaries with our family and our friends. These things rob us not only of our joy, but our health, right? Yes. So in terms of our physical and our mental health. So I'm like, okay, Black women, what do we need to do to take care of ourselves completely? Part of taking care of ourselves is pausing and resting. And this is the divine time for us to take a moment to heal, right? You have to heal. You have to take a moment to just stop and center yourself. And that's not selfish, right? So as Black women, we say, oh, I got to take care of this person. Yeah, you can take care of them. But if you're not okay, you can't take care of anybody.
Right.
That part. If you're not okay, Dr. Rosché?
Yeah. I mean, they always say like you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like we need relentless rest. I was just actually in a training about that. And in the relentless rest, they were talking about having a to-don't list. Yeah, like we
Ooh, I
always
like
have a
that.
to-do list, but let's have a to-don't list,
I
right?
like that. I like
Where we're
that.
not having to do things. And even as we were trying to create a to-don't list, a lot of us couldn't even figure out what we shouldn't be doing. But we only knew what we should do, right? So a lot of us should take that time to say, how do I build on my to-don't list? And have that rest. And then another thing that was also awesome in that training is that they said GTFTS, which means go to sleep. Okay. GTFTS.
I like that.
And so I love that. It was a woman named Dr. RJ who said that. And I loved it because sometimes you just, you're overwhelmed, anxieties in your mind, overthinking. And we need to just say, I am enough. I've done enough. Let me rest. Let me let it go. It's going to be okay. I have a new day tomorrow, right? Because that'll keep you up at night because you're so worried. So just like, hey, GTFTS, okay?
Yes. Yes.
I
And can I add that if you don't, then you may not have another day, right? It's that serious.
Right.
That's serious.
Expand on that, Dr. Kimani, because first of all, I love the to don't list.
Yes.
I'm on the last day of a planning retreat right now. And one of the things the ladies have developed in their overall plan is a list of things they won't do.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, Dr. Kimani, talk about that. You just mentioned that if you don't rest, you might not have.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I want to add something else right before I say that. So the things that you won't do when you set boundaries, that a lot of people around us are not used to that. So they will continue to push to try to get you to go back to your previous way of being. So as Black women, as we say, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. You might encounter pushback. And if you encounter pushback, it's very important. And I'm saying as a psychologist, because it's something we learned in school. If you give in when somebody's like pushing, and you give in, now you've reinforced them that if they keep pushing you, you'll eventually give in. So you have to maintain that boundary. Okay. So if you don't rest and if you don't take care of yourself, you will die, right? I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh about that. I'm just saying it's that cut and dry. I had a group of Black medical doctors on my panel last week, and they were talking about, as Black women, how we wear ourselves ragged and we are now dying at earlier ages. So American Heart Association, there's a lot of research out there now talking about Black women, even those who are pursuing Black excellence and getting all these we're dying earlier, right? So we have to make time for resting, making sure we're healthy, getting the medical care. If the medical care seems like, I don't think that's right, advocating, go get another doctor if you need to do that. They talked about the benefits of having a Black doctor. And I would say a Black therapist, if that's what works for you. But I'm just saying, we have to center our health. That's what I'm saying. You have to rest until you make it to the point where you're not able to help people anymore because you're not here anymore.
Yeah. So true. I was just thinking about the importance of even thinking time, especially as entrepreneurs, right? We always are so reactive that we're never in a place of just being responsive. And that only happens when you're being mindful, right? When you have to take a moment, to transition from one place to another place, right? Taking a couple of deep breaths, all the times when I'm talking to clients and I talk about deep breaths, they be like, hey, no, I don't have no time for it. If you don't have time to take 5 deep breaths, there is a problem. Right.
True.
We need to have transition moments from, going from work, especially if it's a toxic job, to like going to our home. So we're not displacing all of that anger and that energy into the wrong people. Right.
Yeah.
People who love and care about us. We do have to take that time to just become mindful. Like, what's going on with me? Let me have some thinking time for myself before I just start to, make moves and start doing things that I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Why are we as Black women so hyper vigilant? I asked that question because when you were talking, you said people say they don't have time to breathe.
Yes.
Well, that's how we've been brought up, right? So we all have our own rest story. I did a retreat recently in Palm Springs, a Black women's organization, right? So I asked each of them, what is your personal rest story? That personal rest story is not only you, it's what have you been told about rest? What have you seen your mama, your grandmama, your aunt?
Yeah.
What have you seen? What has been modeled for you? In a lot of ways, that's how you start operating. So what is your personal rest story, and what are you going to disrupt that? And what I've noticed also with Black women is that we'll say, I got kids, I don't have time to rest. And I said, let's find some pockets of rest, okay?
Yeah.
When you drop them off at daycare, when they're asleep, what are those moments you have those pockets of rest? So don't just say you can't rest. You need to be intentional about making those pockets and stay with those pockets.
Yeah.
So we were modeled a lack of rest.
Yeah.
And then we in turn model a lack of rest.
Yes.
And allow our peace and our joy to be stolen from us. And we're participating in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The cycle continues.
Yes. And then, you know, what's so disturbing, Roshni, is that sometimes we'll even say, that must be nice. That must be nice that you can rest. That must be nice. And it's almost like a shaming of Black women who do take intentional time to rest. And it's almost the belief that rest is not possible for us. Joy is not possible for us. That's why I'm on YouTube so much. So I want to show Black women not only the depressing, stressful stuff about a toxic job, but I want to show you the fun. I want to show you the joy. I want to show you about getting things back and reclaiming things back from anything that's robbing you of your joy and your rest and your peace.
Yeah. It's an aspect of self-care, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I once told somebody several years ago, this is actually how I found Stephanie Perry, because I searched the word Black woman, easiest way possible, and she popped up. But many years ago, I told somebody that I'm done with the rough side of the mountain.
Ooh.
I'm going the easiest way possible.
And
that person laughed at me and said, oh, so you're going to just do everything the easy way.
Ooh.
And I said, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it made me think of, Dr. Kimani, when you were saying that people will say things like, well, that must be nice for her. And there's like a shame attached to it. But we have to recognize that, for example, rest. If you don't, what did Judy say? She said it somewhere up here. If you don't sit down, something will sit you down.
For real. Yes.
And we've seen that happen to Black women.
Yes. Yeah.
So why do we want to replicate that? Is the question that I want to put out to anybody watching.
Yeah. I think what's so sad is that we don't think there's another way. We don't think that something else is possible. We don't think it's possible to take time to rest and still be able to live your life and make money. Like we think it's all or nothing, right? So when I talk to Black women, I say, hey, let's think about your options about leaving that toxic job because it's harmful to you. Some of them will come back to me like a fear response. So you want me to be homeless? I'm like, how do we go from I want you to look at your options to I'm going to be homeless, right? So it's the same thing. It's like, okay, that Black and white thinking. If I take rest, then that means I'm not going to make any money. You want me to just rest all the time? No, I'm saying take moments, right? You have to make those intentional moments because as Black women, what have we all been told growing up? And I think we're all Gen X, right? What have we been told? We've been told you work really hard. You work super hard. You work twice as hard to get half as much. And you put the grind in and you're the representative of Black people. Like all these heavy pressures. Where have we ever been told to rest?
Yeah. That's what's so beautiful about even like Roshni, when you said you gave people permission to rest, right? Like even saying that you literally have to give people permission because people are not even thinking about it, you know? Right. Even as we were talking about modeling, you know, like we have to be, all of us, models of what rest actually looks like. Yeah. You know, so because a lot of times people don't even know what it looks like. That's why they can't do it. Right. You know, so we need to see how are people still living their lives to the fullest, having peace, having joy, you know, and not broke and not homeless, right? Like they need to see how that happens at the same time.
All those things.
Yeah.
And so not be homeless. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I do what I do. because, and I create the spaces I create because, like you said, we don't even know it's possible. So this made me think of another thing. I'm going to kind of like shift over now that could be robbing us of joy and peace. At least it was robbing me. And Dr. Kimani alluded to it earlier, which is Black women don't know that they have options. They feel stuck. So can you talk about that idea that there's this like collective sentiment that there's one path, and that's it, and there are no other options?
And I think it's very much historical, right? So we think about like historical trauma, we think about our enslavement, particularly anywhere, I'll say anywhere in the world, right? Enslavement is this mentality that it has to be this way for our safety and our well-being. So constantly Black women, we're thinking about survival issues every day. So if you're thinking about survival, it's hard for you to think about rest because you're thinking about what I have to do to survive in this hostile world every day. And so you're grinding. So that's the one thing. Then you add in, how were you raised? The vast majority of Black women that I know, even for myself, I was raised in a certain way in terms of who I am as a Black woman, and to continue to strive and strive and strive and strive, that there was no time for rest. Okay. You think about that. Then you think about the environments that we go into. They don't support rest at all, right? It's very competitive. It's very like cutthroat. It's all these other things. And when you go into a work environment, and this is so sad, the vast majority of Black women I know have had some type of toxic work experience, right? When you go into the hostile, toxic work environment, let's say toxic. So, because hostile has a legal connotation. When you go into a toxic work environment, you're on guard all day. You're on guard, right? So you're masking as you walk into the workplace, right? You look good, you sound good, you're doing it, right? You're killing it, but you're masking all day. So by the end of your workday, you are exhausted. You are emotionally drained because you are on guard, because people really are coming for you. It's not like you're making it up, right? They are coming for you. You have to wash your back. You have to watch how you talk, the tone policing. So all the time you deal with all this angst. And then guess what? When you leave the job, it doesn't leave. It carries over to your home life. So you still processing what happened at the job. You talking about what happened when you get home. You talking about with your friends. So then it's all consuming. And then on the weekends, you run 8 million errands. We run 8 million errands. And then you still might be depleted from the job. So now you might be binge eating, binge watching TV. You're trying to do things to help fill you up because you're exhausted. Or you might sleep and sleep. That's your whole life. That's your whole life. There's no joy in there. And it's not peaceful rest. You know how you wake up and you're still tired? That's how you wake up. You're tired. And
There's
that's
no
every
life
day.
in there. There's no life in there either. You said
No.
there's no joy in there. I said there's no life in there. And
No.
what I heard you saying with women that are going to toxic jobs, and you and I talked about it. I was in a job where I was getting pulled into a room and cursed at. So listen, I don't think it's more toxic than that. But we think we have to stay there. That's what's fascinating to me. We're trained to take the abuse in the spaces that we're in. Dr. Rosché, what do you think about the idea of us having other options? How do we get, like the women that are listening to this, how do we get Black women to know and feel peace and able, the capacity to experience and create other options in their lives?
Well, kind of going back to that mindfulness aspect, right? Allowing yourself to take a little bit of time. It doesn't have to take a lot, right? It just takes some time to envision a life that feels peaceful. Like, what would that look like? I talk a lot about we talk about vision board. We're in that spirit, right? January is about to hit. Everybody's talking about vision boards, but it's the idea of like actually having a vision, of what life can look like that's different than the life you have currently. And even in our masterclass, we had a moment that we had people just start to take some time to actually do the vision. And when they did it, they were like, oh, this is what my life would look like if I had peace, right? And peace meaning like a mind being at ease, even when things are not easy. Okay.
Right.
That's what, like, that's the definition of peace, right? Filling that out. And so when we have that vision, I think that helps pull you in a direction, right? So you need to take some time to actually have that vision. And then then you can start to see, like, people like us, like, your eyes will become open, right? To the Steffi Perry's, the Rosché, the Dr. Kimani's, like, oh my God, like, our lives, like, you can live like that. You can travel, you can, have your own business, you can have time with your family. You start to see the possibilities. I think when we're finding ourselves in depression and in anxiety, we feel stuck, right?
Yes.
We don't even have creativity of, like, what's possible in our lives, And so that's why you're feeling tired. It's like, what kind of tired are you? Sometimes you're creatively tired, right? You haven't even had the ability to even be able to create in your life, create a different, life that you see, right? So all of that, I think, is part of it too.
Yeah. And can I add something too, Rosché? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That a lot of the times that creates creativity is robbed from us because we are so busy fighting toxic, hostile situations. So when I was at that toxic job, I was so busy fighting these people, fighting these fools, okay? Fighting these fools to do my job. It sucked all the creativity out of me because I'm sitting up there fighting with you all the time, which makes no sense. So you're fighting to work. That makes no sense. The other thing that Dr. Rosché was talking about is that depression and anxiety, it may manifest in different ways, okay?
Yeah.
So for me, I like to share my story and my struggles because I want Black women to see from my example, right? This is the Black woman who didn't want social media. Now I'm on YouTube all the time, right? So I want you to see about my example of what I went through. So I went through a toxic work environment to the point where I used to dread waking up. I used to dread it. The alarm would go off and I would look like, oh my God, I have to go back there. It was a horrible existence. Okay. I think a lot of Black women are having that same existence. A lot of Black women who reach out to me are telling me they're crying on their way to work. They get out the car. They try to hype themselves up. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. They walk in the door like, oh, it is that bad. That was me. Okay. And then they leave work. They're leaving work. They're exhausted because all day they've been masking, right? They leave work. They're crying, going home. They come home, and it's a cycle that keeps happening. So when we think about the difficulties with giving yourself permission to rest, if that is your daily existence, you start to fall into, this is dangerous. You start falling into that sense that you're helpless and that you're hopeless, right? Things will never get better for me. All jobs are like this. I might as well just stay with the devil I know than the devil I don't know, because at least I know these people. Okay. The other thing is the helpless. That's what you talk about options. So when you start thinking there's no other way for me, you're not thinking about or considering options. And so that's why Dr. Rosché and I created the financial masterclass, right? Because the main thing that I've heard from Black women, the main thing for myself that kept me at that toxic job longer was my fear of finances. If I leave the job, how am I going to pay my bills? Like, what's going to happen, right? And so I was like, okay, I knew for myself, I needed help because I knew I had to get out that job. Like, I knew that was like a no-brainer. I was like, I cannot go back to this place. I took a leave of absence. I was like, there's no way I'm going back to this job. And I reached out to Dr. Rosché because I was in a coaching program with Dr. TK because I knew I needed some help, right? And then I met Dr. Rosché and I heard about what she did. I said, oh, I got to work with her. I got to find out, how do I get my money right so I can leave? And then almost a year later, now that I've been out, I reached out to her. I say, Dr. Rosché, can we collaborate on a financial masterclass? So if I'm hearing all these Black women reaching out to me saying, girl, I want to go, but I'm so scared because of money. That's the only thing that keeps me at the job. I said, girl, let's do a masterclass together. And that's what we're doing. So this is the second round of our masterclass. So I'm excited that because of what has happened to me, and because I thank God that I met Dr. Rosché, and she was like, girl, let's come up with a financial plan. She made me approach my money. I was in total avoidance about money. I didn't want to look at it. I had some money traumas. I didn't want to look at it. And she said, how much money do you need to leave? She asked me flat out, how much money do you need to leave? And I said, I don't know. That's a problem. I think a lot of us think that we cannot leave because we don't know. We don't know. But I worked with her, figured out I was I would be more than okay by leaving because I had replaced my income. And that's what the part we want to help Black women with in the masterclass.
I love that you're talking about this. Okay, first of all, so many good things, so many good things. First of all, I don't know who knows this and who doesn't, so I'm going to restate this. I have a major depressive disorder diagnosis and PTSD. So I'm very familiar with depression and anxiety. And I'm also very familiar with intentionally moving myself away from those things. Okay, because who has the time to be depressed when I'm out here looking like this?
You got to live.
Hello, I'm out here looking like this. Okay. But yeah. And so I want you guys listening to understand, if you are currently depressed, if you are currently feeling stuck, if you are currently in the burrito in your bed and you are like dreading the fact that, oh, not this again. I got to do this again. Not this job again.
It's
not
like Groundhog's Day.
Girl, not this man again.
Ooh.
Not this family members again.
Yes.
All these things that are robbing you of, 55 people ask you to do 75 things tomorrow and you're doing all of them because you don't have no boundaries. Like all the things that are happening. What we're saying to you is something different is possible.
Yeah.
That's what I hear Dr. Kimani saying. That's what I hear Dr. Rosché saying. And one of the things that I want to talk about next is, and this is once again another segue, you already talked about it, is another thing that's keeping, in my opinion, Black women from having their joy, stealing their joy and their peace and their health, is we don't have a vision. Like we don't, like you were talking about the fact that because we can't even conceptualize options, we don't have a vision for the fact that it could be different. And we definitely, if we don't have a vision, we definitely don't have a plan.
Right.
Like, we don't have no way to get there. So can you talk about that?
Yeah.
Well, the part that leads to the hopelessness and the social programming. And when you think about our families, they project their fears onto us, right? So you might say to your mama, to your aunt, to your sister, to your friend, you might say, I hate this job. I hate this place. I can't stand these people. And they'll say, girl, I know, but you got a good job, girl. That's a good job. That's a good job. Look at those benefits. Don't let them run you out. This is good. Like, don't, girl, no, just, whatever. All jobs are like this, right? So then we might start deluding ourselves. Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I'll just stick it out. I'll just stick it out for 2 more years. I'll try to stick it out 5 more years. I'm trying to stick it out to retirement. I'm trying to stick it out to my child graduates. So then we start lying to ourselves because not only do we not know the options, people around us don't know the options, and then they're projecting their fears onto us. So then we think, wait a minute, I hate this place, but if I leave, now people around me are not going to support me. Like, what happens if I need help? Nobody's going to be there to support me. So sometimes you have to look outside of that circle. People who are not supporting you, and I'm not saying that they're doing this maliciously. They're not. More than likely, they're doing this because they love you. They care for you. They don't want to see you, and therefore spirit homeless, right? They don't want to see that for you. So they project all that stuff onto you, right? What we're saying is that there is another way, and you may not believe it, but there is. And that's why I come on so much to show Black women, I've been where you've been. I have. And I'm trying to show you the other side, okay? The other thing is, sometimes you have to be mindful what information you share with people. I had to be very mindful. My mother was not on board at all with me leaving a job, this so-called good job, right? And I'm quoting Stephanie Perry, a job is not a good job if it's killing you, right? If you're accessing your health benefits at this so-called good job because the job is stressing you out, that's not a good job, okay? But my mother, different generation, right? She stayed at her job till she retired, and she was not on board at all with me leaving that job at all, right? So I had to make a very difficult decision. I just didn't tell her. Right? I resigned. She didn't know, I think 6 months after, I said, I got to tell you something, right? And I was like, I had to do that for myself because I knew that job was killing me. My therapist told me, Black woman therapist, she's like, look, if you stay at that job, it's going to kill you. I'm telling you, it's going to kill you, right? And then when I heard the voice of God, I heard the voice of God. I was in the shower. I heard the voice of God say to me, if you go back to that job, it's a death sentence. I got out the shower. I got dressed. I resigned immediately. right? Immediately, because I knew I couldn't take it. I knew. And I was fighting them for years, right? I was like, why am I fighting these fools? For what? At what expense? What about me? What about my health? What about my family? Right? I can't prioritize this job over them, over myself, over God. I can't do that. And so sometimes you have to realize your circle may not be the people who can help you. You may have to go outside of your circle so people can help you, and be mindful of your own boundaries, what information you share to people. If you know those people are going to keep telling you, girl, stay there, don't tell them. Don't tell them.
So another thing I just heard Dr. Kimani say that could be stealing your peace and your joy is you are getting counsel from the wrong community, the wrong circle.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
pay attention to that. The other thing, right, because like everybody means well, but they are operating from a place of fear. Dr. Rosché, can you talk? Okay, so Dr. Kamani said people will say things to you like, girl, that's a good man. Girl, that's a good job. What you selling your house for? That's what? You done got what? What you mean? And they're projecting their fears on you. So can you talk about people operating from what are they afraid of?
Yeah, right. Well, they're afraid of the unknown, right? That's why they say don't tell, your big dreams to small-minded people, right? Sometimes people don't have the capacity, right, to even understand what you're talking about. I mean, especially when you talk about the generations, I remember talking to my mom. She just literally didn't have the capacity, no exposure, no education, no experience, no understanding of what I was even saying, right? Because it wasn't her life. And so that's what I think it is, so you need to get around the right type of people that actually, they say you're the average of the 5 people you hang around the most, right? So you might need to hang around some other people if you don't want to be like the people that you're around, right? It's like time to do an inventory around who's around you and how do I start like picking them off. And it doesn't mean like you just decide they never gonna be your friend no more. What you choose is say, I don't have a lot of attention to place into this relationship. Right. So you just don't go out with them as much, they're going to catch it. They're going to understand, what I mean? Like you just start to, it's like you start to ghost people. Right. But you like friendly ghost people. Okay. And you're like, wait, I don't need to be around this kind of energy because I'm moving to a different place. And so you find different communities of people who are more like what you're trying to, be like. And you start to, engage more attention, more responsibility, more energy into that particular like relationship. And that's going to grow for you. Even as Dr. Kimani was talking, I was reminded of this story. So take a few minutes to tell you guys this story. It's called I call it the ordinary story, right? I don't know if you remember, Dr. Kimani, I told you many, many years ago at this point, but it's a story. It's actually a book called The Dream Giver. And this is my rendition. So if y'all go get the book, y'all be like, this is not how they said it. But let me tell you how it goes. But there was this little girl named Ordinary. And she was from the family of nobodies, and she lived in the land of familiar, right? You guys may know little girls named Ordinary, right? And so one day the dream giver comes to her and tells her that she's meant to, do big things and have like this huge dream and carry it out in the world, right? And so she's like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And she goes to her job and talks to her coworker and says, oh, coworker, guess what? The dream giver visited me and told me I was meant to do big things. So she's all excited. And the coworker was like, oh, that sounds great. But don't go tell nobody, because nobodies don't like when people try to become somebody's, right? So then she got scared. And she decided, and that's what it feels like in a toxic job, right? We're like, we start telling people and they like, don't go and tell nobody. So then you hold it all inside and you take time. It delays you from the peace that you deserve, right? So then all of a sudden she decides to go and tell her dad about it. Her dad was like, oh, I remember when the dream giver came to visit me and I didn't do anything with my dream. So I want you to go and actually do something with yours. So she's like, okay, I'm doing it. So she goes out and she's like living in the land of familiar. She gets to the border of the land of familiar and she ends up encountering what are called border bullies, right? It's the mama. Her mama came and said, you were from the family of nobodies. Don't be going out there trying to become a somebody, like don't be trying to be different than us, right? Because I don't want to lose you because I won't understand you, right? Then her best friend said, no, don't leave me. Don't leave me. you know? And what happened is that the dream giver sent a nobody that somebody who used to be a nobody and told her, like, hey, this is the Dr. Kimani's and Dr. Rosché's of the world. We're champions. And we say, you know what? We can get some benefits. Don't worry about that. You can still leave your job. You can still have your own business. So that champion comes around and starts to say, you know, like, you can do this. It's possible. All the things that they're saying, they're caring about you. They're afraid of you not having the money. They're afraid that you won't have benefits, but we can figure out, we can navigate that, you know? So then all of a sudden she's like, I feel good. I'm gonna go out. And she goes out to the land of unknown. Now that's the scary part. And that's the part that we're trying to help people with, right? Because we're afraid of being in the land of unknown, you know, because in the land of unknown, sometimes you will feel lack of resources. You know, in the land of unknown, you may battle rejection, right? People saying no to you when you're starting your business. All of us has probably been in that process, but you need somebody to be there with you. So the dream giver sends another somebody who used to be a nobody named Faith. And Faith was like, I can't change the battles, but I can walk you through the battles as you're going through it, right? And so that's what, like, you know, we're here to help people with. Like, we're just going to be Faith for you. You know what I mean? Replace some of all those fears and those lies that you're telling yourself. And we're able to, like, replace it with some truth, right? Like, this is the truth of what really is out there, right? Rest and peace and joy is possible. You deserve it, right? And then that person goes out, ordinary, throws some extra on it, and becomes extraordinary. And she actually finds herself doing big things and living out the promise that she had the vision of, right? And I believe that that's the story that we all can have if we decide to take those steps that are necessary for us, you know? So we're supposed to be extraordinary. Don't be out there looking ordinary, you know?
I love that story. And let me say this, let me just add to this, right? So I heard this Black woman say, I don't know what her name was. She was like, Black women, people try to dim our light. We are the light. Okay. Yes. We are extraordinary. We are the light, right? The other thing is Dr. Rosché and I are offering a plan. We're not only giving you the faith, we're showing you how to create a plan for how to get out, not only how to get out of the job, but to do well once you leave. It's not only that you're going to be struggling, you're going to be doing probably better financially. I'm doing way better financially than I would other times. I'm doing way better financially, but I never would have gotten there if I didn't leave. The other thing I wanted to say too, sometimes people will see things in you, and I did a video about this recently. Sometimes people will see things within you that you don't see within yourself. When I was at that toxic job, people would come to me all the time. Why are you working here? You don't belong here. You should be doing something bigger and better. I couldn't stand that. Because I was like, I'm committed to the work, right? I'm here for these Black students. What are you talking about? I don't belong here. No, I belong here. But they saw something within me I didn't want to see myself, right? Yeah. And then my close sister friends, they were saying to me, they got to a point, they were like, girl, stop trying to convince these people of your worth. They don't deserve you. You got to go. You got to go. And you need those good friends around you who champion you on. So I struggle with the faith, right? They were the holders of my faith. Yes. And I was like, okay, I got to go. But have those people, but also we're also saying the tangible, the practical, we are working with you to have a plan. Yes. So it's not just faith, it's the plan. This is the plan for how to get out. It's the North Star, right? Yes. It's the North Star about how to get off the plantation. We give you the North Star. We give you the tools. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had a little glitch in the matrix. First of all, Dr. Rosché, that story was really wonderful. It made me think of when I say, check the tree before you pick the fruit. Because it doesn't mean that I don't want an apple. It just means that if I want a banana, I can't go to you for it because all you know is apple. All you know is ordinary.
Yes, exactly.
All you're going to do is tell me how to remain ordinary. And so one of the things I had to learn, me, myself, personally, okay, because this is going to be a session for me, is I had to learn I'm asking somebody for something that they do not have the capacity to provide for me.
Yes.
And I really need to stop it. And so if you're listening to this, Black woman, and you are in a space where you feel unsupported and you don't see the options and you don't have the vision and you feel like you're stuck and everyone around you is telling you to stay there, You know what is right for you. You can tell whether it's a good fit or not. And the first step that I could see, and I'm going to ask you guys what the first step is. The first step that I see is get into a different orchard and find a different tree. Find somebody else. And you're here. You're here right now. We see you. You see us. We're here. Find communities, find spaces that are going to help you move in the direction that you could feel on the inside is the right direction. It doesn't mean to discard mom and pop and your cousin and Pookie. Just know that you go to them for something else.
Yes.
I'll give you good relationship advice. Where is their good relationship? I'm preaching now. They ain't going to hello. Listen, I have to say it. Where are they going to give you good job advice? You saw them for 45 years. Come home every day, exhausted and cussing everybody out. They give you advice to do what? To replicate what they did. Boo boo, don't do it. You see Kimani out here right now, refreshed, hair bouncing in the wind. Okay. Hydrated, moisturized. Okay, you gotta check the tree before you pick the fruit. And we get stuff because we want to honor, we want to respect, and we want to go to one source for all of our information. Right? And that's not wisdom, which is the principal thing. So let's talk about now devising a plan, Dr. Kimani, Dr. Rosché. When somebody realizes that they need to, you guys keep hearing them talk about, allude to their masterclass. I'm going to open the floor for you guys to talk about your masterclass because I want the women to know what you're offering. But talk to me about when you both are working with women and they realize, okay, I need something different. What can you guys provide to them so that they can pick good fruit from good trees? What are you guys doing?
Number one, pause. Pause. I know you're busy. Take a moment, pause. And when you pause, you can no longer lie to yourself because now you're listening to your soul. Your soul is talking to you. Your soul is telling you, I hate this place. This relationship is not working for me. You can't lie to yourself. That's the first thing. Pause. So you can listen to what your soul is saying to you. The second thing is deciding what you need to do and who needs to help you. Okay. So as Black women, we're like, I got this. I got this. Yeah, you may. Yeah. Right. But there's times you need help. There's times that you can't figure it all out. Right. That might be therapy. Very important. Let me say therapy is so important too, because when you're at a toxic job, there's so much gaslighting that's happening. There's so much gaslighting. Then you start self-gaslighting yourself. Like, did I do that? Did I say that? Maybe it's me, right? You need to have an objective person that you can talk to, right? You also need that person to help you identify this place is harming you. This place is harming you. You need to get a plan, okay? The other part is, how do you, once you get to that point, who can help you, right? Like we just talked about. Check the source, right? Check the source. Don't go to people. Don't go to the orange picker and you need an apple. You need an apple, okay? Go to the apple picker, right? So go to the people who can help you, who have a track record and can show you the way out. The other thing, I got to say this, Roshni, as Black women, as Black people, we got to pay each other for our services, right? So if you are providing a service, if I see, oh, Rosché can help me with this, Dr. Rosché can help me with this. Marissa Price is here. She is my VA extra. She is outstanding, right? I can't wait to pay her. She sends me an invoice. I'm like, how can I immediately pay her, right? We have to get in that mentality as Black people that we can't get over on each other. We can't get the hookups. We can't just ask you a question. I just take you to lunch. No. If there's a service, that we pay for the service. So number one, pause. Number two, I would absolutely say therapy with two psychologists. Absolutely therapy. Third is, who can I get to help me? Seek that person out and make sure they have a good track record. 4, pay them for their services. And 5, just do it. Like, just do it. Okay. Move forward. Even though it's scary. And I want to say this to Black women. It is not easy to leave situations, even if it's harmful for you. A job, a relationship, a friendship, family things, boundaries. It's not easy, but you have to do it for your own sanity, your own health, your peace, your joy, all, I know it sounds like Soul Train, all those things. You need all of those things, okay? But you have to first pause and stop lying to yourself. I had to do that to myself. I had to stop lying to myself. I was doing it every day. So pause and then remember the other stuff, okay?
I love that. So the first thing we're going to do, guys, is, and everybody listening to this, take an intentional moment to pause and think about what you need next. And so, Dr. Rosché, I want you to talk about what you guys can provide to help the woman who says, girl, what I need is some money. Okay. What I need is some money. I need you to talk to the ladies about, let me see, it is called a Get Your Money Right and Leave That Toxic Job Financial Masterclass. Because the woman, a lot of women paused and they stopped and they said, listen, let me hold $50,000.
Yes. Well, I want to talk about, Dr. Kimani said it's not easy, but it's possible, right? It's not easy, but it's possible. That's why we're giving the plan. And even referencing what she was saying about you have to pay, right? It's a mindset to think about an investment versus an expense, right? When you're choosing to come to the masterclass or choosing to see one of us as coaches or whatever the case is, this is an investment. And when something's an investment, that means that there's a return, right? And it's a return that's going to continue to pay, right? Like, it's not like a return that just has that one interest, like it's going to continue to pay. And so when we are like even considering like, getting our finances in order, we have to look at the numbers. And this is the part that people are scared of. They don't want to go look at their money. They don't want to know where their money is going. And so we have to just start off with the mindfulness activity. Mindfulness means don't judge, but observe and notice. Okay. No judgment. We just want to observe and notice, where is your money going, and a lot of people don't take the time to actually do that. And so, we have that moment where I actually teach, kind of the process, and even a little like, mindfulness breathing, as you're going through this process, to go and just track your spending. So we're going to talk about that. Like, how do we look at our expenses, right? We figure out, what is your survival number? What is the number that you need? When I asked Dr. Kimani, how much do you need to leave your job? We need to know what that number is, right? So we actually create that survival number. We figure out, like, how do we develop, I call it an abundance fund versus other people call it emergency funds. Like, we ain't trying to manifest emergencies in our lives, okay? We want to live out of abundance. And abundance means we have options, right? We have an option to leave that job. So how do we start to like develop the abundance that we need in order to feel comfortable in leaving? We come through with the financial timeline. Okay, so depending on where people are, if they need to leave immediately, we tell you what you should do immediately, right? If you have 3 months, like you're like, I can struggle through for the next 3 months, we'll give you that timeline. If you feel like you can have a year, we also will help you with that. So we kind of teach you how to do that. If we feel like the job is extremely toxic, or you feel like it is, and you need to leave immediately, we talk about, especially as us being psychologists, how to ask for work leave, right? And how to navigate that conversation and navigate, who can be the person who can help you with that. But additionally, one of the major fears that we have on top of income and lifestyle is often benefits. Like, what do I do with my 401k that I'm leaving, or 403b or retirement plan? So figuring out what we should do with that. Like, how do you get your life insurance, right? Like, a lot of people need protection and it's going to be only at their job. How do we set that up? How do we make sure we have health insurance? So those are like all those fears that we have, but we actually answer all of those fears and give the practical steps on how to go about doing that within the class.
And then I also want to add something else. Yeah, also the dates too. So we also talk about how to replace your income, right? So we give you that stuff about the plan and all that other stuff, but how do you start generating money that will help to replace the income that you currently have at that job? So if it's at another job, if it's creating your own business, we talk about that. We talk about multiple streams of income creation. It's dangerous for Black women, anybody, Black women in particular, to have one stream of income. If you're totally dependent on that job as your only source of income, that's dangerous. Okay. We talk about how to create those multiple streams of income. So the masterclass is January 3rd and 4th. Okay. So early registration is going on now. So get your ticket. Okay. So I also want to say so January 3rd and 4th, It's 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. And it is Zoom webinar format. Okay. It's Zoom webinar because we really want to protect the privacy of all participants, because many times these jobs are like plantations, and we have a realistic concern that people are trying to find out that we're leaving because there could be some backlash. Okay. So it's Zoom webinar format. Only Dr. Rosché and I will be on the screen. No other faces are on the screen. Your names will not be listed anywhere. If you have any questions or comments, you can change your name in the Q&A. The only people who will know that you're registered, me, Dr. Rosché, Marissa Price. We have no involvement with your job. We are not messy people. We're not telling people who's in the masterclass, okay? So we don't want your fears to prevent you from accessing the masterclass. Again, January 3rd and 4th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, Zoom webinar format. And then here is the link to register.
I hate that you have to give that disclaimer, but I
No,
understand it. I understand why, because the nervous system activation of a woman that's sitting there right now watching this broadcast and thinking, I have to do that, but they'll find out. Imagine, sis, let me just stop for a second. Sis, that's not okay. And so they are providing for you a space where you can feel safe with people who understand what you went through. And Dr. Kimani worked with Dr. Rosché, okay, to get her freedom. And so it breaks my heart that you have to say that disclaimer, but I get it. Because these jobs be out here clocking people. Wow. So
I actually heard a Black woman, as she told me, and I didn't even know about this. I'm so glad she told me that. She said that at her job, there's somebody at the job who goes on LinkedIn and they follow their employees on LinkedIn, and they'll do something to like throw it back in their face, right? So I call these people LinkedIn trolls. I did a video about this. So the LinkedIn trolls are out there. They're out there, but there's a way you can work around it. This is how we keep working around it, right? So you could be in the masterclass and nobody will know. Nobody will know that you're there. Okay.
Unless you
sorry,
right?
I was going to say that. Sorry, Dr. Rosché.
That's okay.
I also want you guys to know I dropped the link in the comment section to register for the class, as well as it's in the information box. Go ahead, Dr. Rosché.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unless you want people to know, like people, were like, in the chat box and they didn't mind, sharing. And so it was like a community that was being built, right? Of like knowing that you're not alone, in this process. And so we start realizing how much a community was important, right? So we actually like created what's called the Liberation Community. Which is a community of people, like even after you leave your job, you're like, okay, what do I do now? I need support throughout that process. So we're going to be able to continuously give support, even after the masterclass, within the Liberation Community. So we're actually going to launch it, actually after this masterclass on January 4th as well. So
if they register, they get to be a part of the Liberation Community, which is a community of supportive women who can help you through this process. Is that correct?
Yeah, they'll be able to, they'll know about it. So they'll know that the Liberation Community has launched, and they can have an option if they would like to join or not join, into the community.
Yeah. So the community will be a monthly. So it's a membership for Black women, right? So in terms of Black women who are thinking about leaving. So no matter where you are, you're thinking about leaving, you are in the process of leaving, you have left, right? This is a community of Black women where we're sharing resources. So we have guest speakers coming in once a month. We celebrate Black women who were able to liberate themselves. Like, whoa, girl, you did it. Also, we have a community. So we can support one another as Black women that we're having similar experiences, but we are here to uplift one another.
Yeah. But with the actual class, I do give like a free, consultation with me. So they are able to, like, after like they complete the things in the class, come to me and we can kind of talk about their plan of like exiting. And that's just a additional, like a free thing that I'm adding to it. So everybody came to me afterwards too, which gives a one-on-one opportunity.
That's amazing. You know what, Dr. Rosché, I didn't know that financial psychologist was a thing. You are the first person I know who has this specialty, and I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a licensed clinical psychologist since I was 25 years old. So that was like 2006 or something like that. I don't even remember what it was. And so I added the financial piece to it about 8 or 9 years ago. Because I realized people were coming in like depressed and anxious, and and a lot of it was financial issues, right? And I also used to work with foster youth who were emancipating, and they had no financial understanding. So I was like, I was teaching them, doing budgets with them, and so I was like, hey, I could put this together because people are like really in need of this. And so that's why I call myself a financial psychologist.
Right.
And I
I
need
might
to
need
add,
you. Listen, girl, wait a minute. Go. So
yes,
let
girl.
me ask this question before you go, Kimani. It's
Mhm,
called Get Your Money Right and Leave That Toxic Job
mhm.
Financial Masterclass. Is it just for people, Black women who are leaving toxic jobs, or can a person who just wants to get their money right sign up?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
for all Black women. If
Mm,
you're a Black woman and you need to get your money right, it's for all Black women, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just unfortunately, most Black women who are working are in a toxic work environment, but it's for all Black women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the focus is, of course, we're gonna be talking about toxic jobs and all these different things. That's gonna be a focus, but
mhm.
Yeah.
anybody can be in there because it's practical information around
Yes.
finances
Yes.
that's in there.
Yes. Yes. And even though it's like heavy, like I said before, I had some money trauma. We all got a money story. Okay. We all got some kind of negative association with money. But even though we're talking about this, number one, as psychologists, we know that you have to approach what you've been avoiding. Because when you don't approach it, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, right? So initially you can avoid it and be like, oh, good, I don't have to think about it. But it's worse for you, right? So we're saying we're giving you an opportunity to approach those things that you have been avoiding so that on the other side you feel better. And even though we're talking about things that doesn't feel good for most of us, look at our money and come up with a plan. It doesn't feel good for us. We know it's necessary. But Dr. Rosché presents it in such a way that it's not like gloom and doom and like depressing. Like she comes with so much energy, like we dancing, we got music, and so it's not all like that heavy, like, oh my God, I gotta talk about this. Her energy is just so
Good.
uplifting. So you won't leave like, oh my God, this is just coming. And you won't feel that way at all.
Yeah, I have my money earrings on. I don't know if y'all can see them. Usually I tell people that I'm the doctor of rethinking, and I help people to remix their thinking so they can make money, manage money, and multiply their money.
I
And so
saw
I
that
get
on
people
Instagram.
excited. Yeah. So I get people excited about this information. I know people want to make it. Now they want to manage it. And of course, they want to multiply it better. And so we're going to do it in a fun way. That's why I have all my little affirmation money songs and all that kind of stuff in the beginning to get everybody, juiced and excited. And even just to relax yourself as we're talking about money.
Can I give a testimony to Dr. Rosché?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
So I've learned so much from her, right? And so even during the master class, I have my little notebook. I'm taking notes. I've left over a year ago. I'm still taking notes. Like, oh, I need to follow up on that. That's good. That's good, right? She made a quote, and I literally said this quote to myself because when you leave a toxic job, you will find that opportunities start coming towards you. It's amazing. It really is. So I got an opportunity to come my way. And something that we practiced during the master class was the mantra, money comes to me easily and effortlessly. Is that right? Dr.
Yes.
Roshan, I get that right?
Mhm.
And I was saying that to myself because I got booked to do a retreat. They found me on LinkedIn, right? I was like,
Yeah.
how did this even happen?
Yeah.
Money comes to me easily and effortlessly. It's hard to
Yes.
believe that at first, but I'm telling you it's true. It's true.
It is. It
Dr.
is.
Roche, I love you, and I don't even know you that well because let me tell you why. Okay, I have my own little testimony, but you gonna see. So last September, I did a solo self-care staycation. I booked a hotel for 2 nights and just kind of like to get myself together. Went in there, did some reading, did some planning, plan to take over the world. And I read this book and it really like unlocked something in my brain. And when I came out of the hotel room, I decided that money was energy and
Mhm.
that money was just value transfer back and forth.
Yes.
And the minute I decided that, I
Mhm.
started making more money.
Mhm.
And so I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I'm not even joking. I'm like, wait a minute, I need to be in the masterclass. Let me,
Yeah.
because I love your energy and I love the fact that you're so right in that we get stuck feeling like we can't create our peace, create our joy, create our life, create what we want. And oftentimes, one of the major things that gets us stuck is the fact that clearly you need money, right?
Mhm.
And I love that you're talking about mindset being something that you heavily lean on, because I am realizing that many of my money traumas, as Dr. Kimani says, and money blocks that I'm still working through. I told you this was September. I had that aha moment.
That
Um,
is.
are the reason why the value transfer wasn't happening,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it was
Yeah.
like, as soon as I started unblocking, I started
Mhm.
hearing the ching chings on the
Yeah.
Shopify on my phone. And I keep the cha-chings on because that thing really does something to me when I hear the
My
cha-ching.
spirit too. I hear you.
I had to turn it off before this call, but I love it. So
Yeah.
I love that you guys are offering this. Anyone that's listening, I hope that you can sign up. I have dropped the link. Let me put it on the screen again. If you go to bit.ly/Jan Financial Masterclass, you can sign up for early. You said early registration is open right now. It's
Mhm.
also in the information box on whatever platform you're on. I dropped it in the comment section. We are at an hour, you guys. That felt like that was like 5 minutes.
Right.
Like that was 5 minutes. You guys, if you want to connect with Dr. Kimani or Dr. Rosché, I have dropped all of their information in the comment section. It is also in the information box on whatever platform. Dr. Kimani has Lifting as We Climb Consulting and Wellness Services here on YouTube. If you want to, first of all, listen, Kimani's mission is clear. Okay.
Yes.
She gonna get Black women out that toxic job. If you want to get out of toxic job, she got out. And when I tell you she on her Harriet Tubman, okay.
Yes.
Listen, she said, girl, you could come out too. I'm out here flourishing, shoulders out. Look at her shoulders out.
Look at shoulder.
Hello, shoulders out. So if you wanna find out more and connect with Dr. Kimani, Lifting as We Climb, and then there's some free good stuff for you guys in the information box from Dr. Kimani. So do not miss that. Dr. Rosché also has some free gifting for you if you go to mymindonmymoney.com.
Yes.
I want to
Yes.
start singing. I'm not going to. I
Yes.
won't control myself. You can get a free gift from her as well. She's also on not LinkedIn, on Instagram.
Yes, on Instagram.
Dr._Rosché. This has been amazing. And I hope that every single person that has listened to this live or on the replay is going to be transformed, is going to understand that you do have options. You're not stuck. You do have the ability to create a plan and a vision. And hopefully you will sign up for the masterclass if you feel like you need to get your money right. If you feel like you need to get oh, you know what? I have a question for you guys. If somebody signs up and they can't come to the live calls, can they still watch the replays?
Yes. Yes. Every day the replay goes back out to everybody, so they have access to it, for life.
Yes. And my ask that you also said, Roshni, is that you share this video with at least 2 other Black women, because we out here struggling these streets. Okay. So help other Black women liberate themselves. Share this video with at least 2 other Black women, and you have the opportunity to gift a Black woman the masterclass.
It's the
So
holiday
we in holiday season. Okay. If you want to gift your mama, your sister, your friend, whatever, you can
or the Black males can give their wives, their sisters to go home.
Exactly.
Gifts.
Gift. So you can gift her the masterclass. It's really easy in the checkout system. It says an area says, is this a gift to another Black woman? And just follow the information there. You can gift her too.
That's perfect. That's perfect. All right, you guys. Well, before I go, I do want to tell you that today is actually the last day of my Create Your 2024 virtual planning retreat, the December cohort. And we are over there rocking. It's amazing. We have our last call this evening, and I am doing my virtual planning retreat again in January. So if you are interested in signing up, the link is in the information box, thepineapplecrowns.com. Black women, I hope that you have options. I hope that you have the ability to have a vision, and I would love to partner with you to create that. And so would Dr. Kimani, and so would Dr. Rosché. I will see you guys next week and in the next video. And until that next video, be well, be encouraged. Here's a pineapple. Bye, you guys.